This is Hashem, we're trying to get into the world with the Rambam. Understand a little bit the period which the Rambam lived in Spain, eventually in North Africa. The influence which the Rambam had from Aristotle, from philosophy, from a lot of Arab works that lived in his days. The world of the Rambam was a little bit different than the world that we live in today. Not only because a lot of years and history went by, but eventually we had from the Ramban on and the Gilui of the Zohar in 1305, eventually the Rizal, the Ramak, the Shloah Kodesh, the Marami panel, all those huge gedolim that we had, with the introduction to Klal Yisrael, a lot of thinking philosophy, thinking of the Mekubolim, different way of thinking. Post that you have Baal Shem Tov, the Vilna Gaon, till this day. Today when you tell somebody, think, so right away says, listen, I have to bring proof that what I'm thinking is proper. And none of us goes into the woods and thinks. But there were thinkers, people which got a real far thinking on it. Something which is called seichel. So it's true that seichel is limited, but at the same time, we cannot skip over seichel. We have to build ourselves on seichel. How much of seichel should we use in our approach that we're going to see? How much do you see that seichel, our rational, has its limits? You tell somebody, don't lie. You shouldn't lie because it's immoral or because the Torah said not to lie. You should not steal because the Torah told you not to steal, or you should not steal because it's not proper to steal. You should believe in God because a mitzvah to believe in God, or because your rational also tells you there must be a God. How much do you use your seichel? And how much you should not use your seichel? So we're going to bring different sources. The Chazon Ish writes in one place, beautiful lashon. Chazon Ish, very much in his learning itself, things have to make sense. Things were not only be able to say a chidush, which you cannot digest it. So Chazon Ish writes in one place, Aleinu liyased mishkat agodol. We have to make sure as a foundation, ala hekesh hasichli. Things have to make sense. If you something you cannot explain, doesn't make sense, he says, don't say it. Oh, it sounds good. Chazon Ish says it has to make sense. Seichel, hekesh asichli. But he goes the strong point with the Chazon Ish that says, what it say? What's the difference whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense? Chazon Ish says, Shehu amalach ben hayoytzer layitzur. So what is seichel? A person thinks it's seichel. Makes sense? Doesn't make sense. Somebody will tell you, so what if it doesn't make sense? Chazon says, yeah, but seichel is also a message from Hashem. Like Hashem spoke in Nevuah, Anoich Hashem Elokecha. That's Mamish Nevuah. So we have something which is not Mamish Nevuah, but something for sure much less than Nevuah. But Hashem speaks to us through our seichel. If something does not make sense, you have to say, it doesn't click. Must be a reason why it doesn't click. He says, and something does click, it's because Hashem is telling you, says Hashem is speaking to you through a malach. And that malach is called Ben HaYetzur LaYotzer, between the creator and the creature. What is the message? Malach, which is called seichel. So could you go against seichel? Hashem implanted of your seichel. How can you go against it? That's a Chazon Ish, which is closer to us. But you go back to Chovos HaLevavos, right like this. Chovos HaLevavos built the whole parak of Avodas Elokim. He built it also on seichel. He says, Heoru Asichlis, says, Avodas Elokim, you're going to find a lot of Pesukim. All of the Pesukim. Whole Tanakh. Gemaras, Midrashim. But in Avodas Elokim, the Chovos HaLevavos goes out of his way to explain you also, it makes sense to worship Hashem. So he says, what is the Heoru Asichlis? That a person should be aware, working on himself to be Oived Hashem. He says, Askoros Elokim es Odom ben Soyev Sichlo. God is speaking to you through you say seichel. When a person goes in the street and he sees beautiful Bria, what a Shemayim, and something tells you, hey, there must be a creator like a Rambam. So you think to yourself, who's speaking to me? My ego. Where did I hear that echo from? Who's speaking inside of it? So he says, Askoros Elokim el Odom b'sichloi. Hashem is speaking to you, remind you through your seichel. L'tasois Hashem is remember you, to recognize Hashem, l'haki simone ha'chochmoso, to understand what chochmos is all about. So who's pushing you? The urge to search. Who's pushing you? Your seichel. That's Hashem speaking to you. In Tehillim, which is Nusach Sfard, the Hasidim say on Leil Shabbos, you have the whole Hoydu Hashem Kito Kilo Elom Chasd. Yomu Geulei Hashem Asher Geolam Yatzor, people who were redeemed from tzaros. From this period you learned all the halachas, Arbat Shechim Lehoydus, the Gemara says. All different kind of tragedies may happen to a person, whether it should be you're the Midborios or the Ayam, from a Machlas, Besasurim, all different kinds of problems a person goes through. There's the parak of Hoydo, Hoydo Hashem Kito. In the middle it says like this. Yoshve Choyshe V'Salmobis, all people who are sitting in darkness, in Tzoris. Asida Yonu Ubarze. Coughing. They were tied together. They were punished. Why they were punished? They rebelled against the statements of Hashem. And they disregarded the actions of Hashem. They openly went against Hashem. So now they have sorrows. They deserve it. So Hashem gave it to them over their head. Hashem was machbir them. They fell down with nobody to help them. And eventually, they screamed to Hashem, they davened to Hashem. Please help. Yotzion, Michoyshe V'Salmoves, and eventually, Yoidol Hashem Chasdu, Nivoishel V'Neod. Hashem broke all the ropes that they had, took them out of jail, took them out of tzoros, but they caused it to themselves, because they were rebels. They rebelled against Imre Kel, the words of Hashem. They went against Hashem. Who is the Imre Kel? Imre Kel is the statements that Hashem told them. You tell somebody you're over Sukkim, you're over Eloche, you're over all this. What is the Imre Kel that were over? There was a transgression. What did they do? So Rabbi Gedalia Eisman, Zechina Lebrocha, Mashgiach Kol Torah, used to quote Ibn Ezra on this particular pasuk, Imre Kel, they rebelled against the Imre Kel. So Ibn Ezra says like this, Ki mo Imre Kel ba'atzas elyon ha'atzu, hem pekudei alev. These are the orders of your heart. Shashem notom belev kol medav. Hashem planted inside of every person, every human being, in the heart of each one of them. He made it the punishments come because we didn't hear the echo. Something tells you in your heart, this is not proper. You're doing a business deal, and you'll be able to find something. Allah is quite to be able to find a header of some kind. But your echo tells you, it's not glad. Allah is mutter, but it's still, your common sense tells you something's not glad. The founder of the OU in the United States, his name was Mr. Rosenberg. He worked very hard at the beginning. Today you have millions of people using kosher products. You have thousands of products, OU, OK, Star, and all. Today it's easy to go to any supermarket and find kosher. At the beginning, you had to introduce the idea of kashrus, of hashgacha. You had to convince the factory that it's worthwhile for them to invest, paying a mashgiach, getting a label, be able to get more clientele. It was very rough at the beginning. Somebody came up with an idea to get one of huge factories and get into the idea to be able to sell a lot of much products if they get a hechsher. But that product was problematic. To be able to make it kosher, the product, you had to go into a lot of kuls. Very shvache heter. If you will give it to even though you will be only with a lot of heterim. So the person who came to offer him, Tom says, listen, they will be able to convince this factory to take a hechsher by us. They will be able to pay us a lot of money. You'll be able to develop the OU supervision a lot, much more. And he told them a plan, a 45-minute plan. And he says, I know there will be a problem with this. You for lots of you'll be able to, with the shachshita, the tashita, with that cooler, For 45 minutes, had a whole structure, a plan, how to be able to sell this idea to this factory. After 45 minutes of preaching, Mr. Rosenberg, absolutely quiet and silent, does not respond. So the fellow asked, what's up to Mr. Rosenberg? He says, what do you say? You have to say, reply. And Mr. Rosenberg says, what's the difference? What Mr. Rosenberg says? What's God? What God has to say. Alochic wise, you'll be able to play with Alochic. You'll be able to say, you have a heter like this, a heter like that. Won't be trade. But is that Rotzen Hashem or not Rotzen Hashem? So this is like an echo inside of a person. There's a message that Hashem is telling you and speaks to you. A person sometimes rebels something which is inside of him. He had a message. Sometimes he's in business, sometimes he's with the neighbor, yes, sometimes in shidduchim, sometimes it's in learning itself. A person tries to defend certain kind of svara, and deep inside of you feel it's not blood. So there's a whole world which is called seichel. Seichel could be when you open your eyes and you see Shammai. So you have the Chovot HaLevavos was built, being part of his sefer, seichel. Open your eyes. Even as far as in learning, Chazon Ish says, you have to have seichel. Things have to make sense. Things that don't make sense, don't say. Rav Wolbe told me, he came once to Chazon Ish, he was speaking in the sugya of Kiveres, Shabbos Yiravid. Shvere sugya. And Rav Wolbe told the Chazon Ish certain svara. But a svara which is not a svara, like a din. Chazon Ish told him, he says, you understand what you're saying? Is that a svara? Never say things you don't understand. Don't say things because you want to say a statement. Things have to be digested. Things have to be able to understood. So you could go ahead and build your whole Yiddishkeit, only mitzvahs, or you could build Yiddishkeit also seichel and also in mitzvahs. When a person says not to steal, why don't you steal? Because it's improper to steal, and also because the Torah told me not to steal. Going back to Rabbi Gedalia Reisman, Mashkech al Torah Zechina Levorach. He used to say, Yosef tells Eshe Potiphar, how can I do this evil? Your husband gave me the keys everywhere. I do whatever I want in his palace. He trusted me. I'm going to betray him. How can I do that? And also, how can I sin against God? So Rabbi Gedalia used to say, first thing you have to say, Yiras Hashem. How can I sin against God? Rabbi Gedalia used to say, you always have to bring close to yourself things which make seichel, it's easy to digest. And also, the same thing Rabbi Gedalia used to say when you find Yaakov Avinu is told in Cholim, pick yourself and go, it's time to go. Then he tells his wives, Rochel and Leah, he says, we have to go. Hashem came to me in a dream yesterday and he says it's time to go. Take the sheep, take call, we're going. And what they answered him, he says, our father, it's good for nothing, he sold us, he betrayed us, for sure we have nothing to do here anymore. And also Hashem told you to go. Again, says, that's the way you talk. You speak in the Emoyas. Eshes Patifa, maybe you have to talk to her differently. But you speak in the Emoyas and Doishas. Say Hashem said, okay, we're going. It doesn't say it so. He said, first of all, they had to rationalize. Afiderech HaSeichel had nothing to do over here. That's our father. Look, he behaved to us. How much he tried to steal every penny from our household. And also, Hashem told him. So always, the seichel has to be a big part of our being. We cannot skip seichel. We have to use seichel too in learning. So big chelik of Chovos HaLevavos, like he said, is built on seichel. The whole Shara B'china is on seichel. But the Beis HaMedrash of the Rambam, which was closer completely to philosophy, that for surely in that Beis HaMedrash, seichel took huge part. So you take the